What's going on, everybody? Thank you for joining me today. You're listening to Average Discussion. Today is Wednesday, April 17th, 2024. It's about 53 degrees here, just outside the Salt Lake City area. Thank you for joining me in Studio F350 today. It's a beautiful day out here, actually. It's not too bad, not too hot, not too cold. A little breezy, but all in all, it's a pretty good day. Hey, I just wanted to thank you for tuning in today and checking out the show. For historical records, just in the event that everything goes to complete absolute shit, and this podcast is the only thing that future generations find. I want them to understand what they can exploit the human race out of for energy costs, right? So when I passed by today, it was about $3.85 a gallon for regular gasoline, about $3.79 for diesel fuel. So push comes to shove, you need to know what you can get out of your, capitalistic slave economy. That's about what you can rob them from. So, yeah, they'll tell you supply and demand, but it doesn't ever seem to be empty. So it's kind of strange. Anyways, that's what's going on. So I know I told everybody Monday through Thursday that was my plan, uploaded by 4 p.m. Guys, I'm super just wore out, man. This change in my schedule is messing with me a lot more than I thought it would. Just a little bit more wore out. So, I don't know. Last week, I told everybody that I wasn't going to do anything over the weekend, which I did not. I took a trip down to the Grand Canyon with my family. I hit this spot where I realized that my oldest kid, he's starting to work now, and I just don't feel like we're going to have as many free weekends without some massive planning. Because I'm a very spontaneous person. I like to do things spontaneously. I don't like to schedule things out. I don't know what it is. It's, I guess I get tired of my life feeling like a routine. Right. And so I just try to do spontaneous things to kind of throw things in the mix. I feel like it's kind of good sometimes, but I don't know, the more I evaluate that, the more I'm starting to think that, maybe it's not always the best. And though there may be a place for it, I think perhaps maybe I go too much into it sometimes. I don't really know. But either way, I'm a pretty spontaneous person. And so the weekends, we try to get out and we do random things. I don't know that my kids really like it as much as perhaps I do. But nonetheless, I do try to involve them, right? And so I kind of reached this realization where I think there's going to be less and less of those weekends without some excessive planning. So I wanted to take advantage of it. We all had nothing to do this weekend. We packed the car up. We left about 4:30, 5 o'clock on Friday afternoon. Drove 6 hours down to Page, Arizona. Got us a hotel room, which that was a ripoff. You know what I mean? I didn't have to get 2 rooms, but I don't know if you've ever had 2 teenage boys, but they smell funky and they're teenage boys, right? So I didn't want to cram all 5 of us into a room with 2 beds and one of us was going to have to sleep on the floor, right? So, because I'm not in a terrible spot financially, I got 2 rooms, but it was about $800 for 2 rooms for 2 nights at a Best Western. So pretty pricey. We took our car, so gas prices were pretty good. But either way, if you haven't been to the Grand Canyon, definitely plan more than just 24 hours to kind of get things done. And I say that because though it was a great experience, right? I'm glad I was able to get there. I really feel like you have to do some serious hiking to really enjoy it. We went to the visitor center, which was about 2 hours from Page, Arizona, on the South Rim, right? We went down there, and they got the whole little village and everything like that, and a bunch of Native Americans there selling stuff, and it was an okay experience, but it's just a hole in the ground from the top. You know what I'm saying? And it's cool, but it felt like every little scenic stop that we stopped at we did about 2 miles, I think it was, on the little trail at the top there. I don't know. It all felt like the same. So I'd really be interested to see it from the bottom personally. I think that's where you could really have some fun. So I think the next time we go back, I'm going to plan a lot better, and I would like to do some of those things. I think it'd be a much better experience. You know what I mean? But you should definitely go if you have the ability to do so. Because here's the thing, like I said, I'm 6 hours away from Page, Arizona, which, I mean, I know the Grand Canyon and everything it spans a long distance, but that's right where the Glen Canyon Dam's at for Lake Powell. And that's where you kind of really get to see some stuff, right? And so Horseshoe Bend was about, I think it was like 10 minutes away from Page, Arizona. And it's like I don't know, a half mile to 3/4 mile, little walk down a path. And that was an absolutely spectacular view. I mean, I took some pictures of it and posted it, but the pictures, they really don't do it justice. Like, it's so massive, and because of the colors, I'm sure, with the rock and the water and all that good stuff, it didn't even look real, and it really kind of messed with your eyes. And I don't know, it was really cool. In my opinion, Horseshoe Bend was better than going to the Grand Canyon, so, but, nonetheless, like, the Grand Canyon was still impressive to see. I mean, it is quite the sight to see. And I imagine if you live somewhere where you're not used to a lot of mountains anyways, it's probably even more spectacular, but, here in Utah, we got a fair amount of mountains, and so I spent a lot of time in the mountains, and I don't know. So I'm glad I saw it. You know what I mean? It was cool for about 10 minutes. And then, it was okay. What next? Right. And maybe that's just my spontaneous brain, but I'm glad I went, but I would say if you're planning on going, try to plan a fair amount of time to maybe go do some extra stuff. Maybe take some of the tours or whatever that they have. Probably be a lot better, but I was just trying to be spontaneous, enjoy some family time. And, yeah, so it's not like we were necessarily on a time crunch, right? But, we were limited, because we pretty much did everything on Saturday, and then Sunday we made the trek back home. Stopped and saw a few things on the way, back here and out to where I live. So down through southern Utah, I forget what it's called, something Toad Hill or Toad something. I can't remember. Toadstool. I don't know, but we stopped, did a little, I don't know, I'd say it's probably about 1.5 miles or so walk in, and then saw some pretty cool scenery there. Really cool. There's a lot to do down there, and I think I need to take more advantage of that, because that was one of the things that we recognized a long time ago, was that, all this stuff we're like 3 to 6 hours away from, and we've never been. And my wife and I have both, I mean, myself, I've pretty much spent most of my life in Utah, outside of the time when I was in the military and a little bit when I was younger, right? But for the most part, I've lived in Utah my entire life, in the same area that I live in now, roughly. And I don't know, I just never went out and experienced that stuff. And I always thought it was so far away. You know what I mean? I think that was part of the problem, is that, you would say something like, oh, it's a 6-hour drive. Like, oh my gosh, that's so far, And then I joined the Army, and, next thing you know, driving around for 18 hours is no big deal. So, and, I used to drive from Missouri back here to Salt Lake area straight through one shot. That was like 20 hours. So I don't know. A lot of that changed. And so my perspective on that changed a little bit as well. You know what I mean? So very interesting. Great little trip. I recommend it for anybody. I mean, it's definitely a site worth seeing. Don't get me wrong. I'm not trying to downplay it. It's a site worth seeing. I would just say, make sure you do the research and plan. It was about, I think it was $30 or $35 for a carload, to get into the national park. And that's up to like a 15-passenger van, I think it was. So, I mean, it costs some money, but it's nothing too crazy. I think it was $10 to park and go walk to see Horseshoe Bend, because they got to make their money, I guess. You know what I mean? So, I don't know. Apparently, though, Horseshoe Bend would have been really cool for the sunset, but we were trying to go to the dam too, and then we got to the dam too late. Everything was closed there. No, not a big deal, but apparently the sunset would be pretty awesome, which I can totally see that, because like I said, the pictures just don't do it justice, man. It looked completely unreal. Yeah. So if this is your first ever episode that you're listening to, this is Average Discussion. I talk about pretty much whatever I want to talk about, whatever comes to my mind. I'm trying to do Monday through Thursday, have it out by 4 p.m. But guys, like I said, a lot of things have changed with my job, and I'm not adjusting very well. I'm not going to lie to anybody. So, very, very sorry for that. I truly am. and it's hard to find the motivation sometimes, especially right now. I think I'm a lot more tired than I have been in a while. So, but again, I talk about whatever comes to my mind. I'll usually talk about some news topics to kind of get my brain going. Spray some WD-40 on the gerbils and get the wheels spinning upstairs, the rickety out of alignment wheels. Okay, and that's what I do. I've got a platform that I want to explore the live episode stuff. But again, I'm drained and I don't want it to be a low quality product. And right now, I think it would be a low quality product, not only for equipment reasons, but just for my own mental motivation for it right now. Yeah, it's just weird. So that's what I do here. If this is the first time you're ever listening to it, thank you for listening. I hope you enjoy it because there's more to come. So please don't leave. But I do hope that you enjoyed it. I hope you share it, like it, follow the pages, and at a minimum, at least let me know what you did or did not like about it. I think that's important too, because I can't get better if I don't know what I'm doing wrong, right? So either way, let's kind of get into it. So apparently, so I was listening to the radio on the way home, talk radio, because I haven't been paying attention. I have not been paying attention to any of the news. I've been very minimal on the socials. I think we need that time, right? And what sucks for me is that I lose a lot of traction with my podcast pages. Because the way those systems are set up, you have to be extremely active, right? You got to comment, you got to post, you got to interact, right? And so I already struggled with that, and so for the podcast itself, that's a very stressful thing for me, is having to interact on that, because I do like to decompress from it and kind of just shut myself out from it, because I don't know, man, I feel like social medias in particular are very beneficial for a lot of things. They add avenues for people who just naturally aren't, what's the word I'm looking for? Go-getters in the sense of interaction, right? But at the same time, it's a fake reality most of the time, and it's extremely negative. It's in a lot of ways disgraceful to what we've become. And honestly, I think it's a prime situation for people to just distract themselves from the people around them. I mean, that's it's a weird thing, right? Because we all have moments of boredom. Some of us go through and do things maybe more productively than others, right? But we all have moments of boredom, and I suppose it's no different than just sitting somewhere and whittling a piece of wood, right? Like, you're not interacting with the people around you. But at the same time, I feel like with social media, what the problem is that we get so accustomed to that world that it overtakes us. And I don't know that that's the same with like situations like whittling wood, right? So I try to disconnect from it from time to time. Because I'm just as guilty as anybody else. I get into it, man. I get into it. I get lost in it, and next thing you know, I haven't engaged or interacted with my kids or my wife in several hours, and I don't know. I think everybody's entitled to that from time to time, but it can be too much, I think, and I try to avoid that. I don't want to be that person. I don't want to be stuck in it like that, right? So, but it does suck. It does suck for trying to run the podcast. So either way, back to what I was talking about. I was listening to the radio on my way home from work today, which I worked way later than I should have. I wouldn't say way later, but about an hour longer than I'm supposed to. And I'm on my way home from work, and I'm listening to talk radio, trying to just get freshened up with some of the new stuff. And of course, it was most of the same BS that it's been for forever. Israel this and Trump Biden this, and it's all the same shit that I try to avoid, because again, I didn't put this out when I was talking to any potential new listeners, right? But I try to avoid politics, because it's all the same shit, man. It's all the same garbage crap, and we all know, whether we want to admit it or not, we all know that we have no fucking control over it, right? So, it is what it is. But anyways, and so I'm listening to it, and I came across on AM radio, because that's where most people have talk shows. There's a couple of them on the FM channels, but AM radio, there's definitely more. There's like sports and a lot of church and stuff like that. But um, anyway, so I came across Ben Shapiro's on one of the AM channels, and I like Ben. I like Ben. He's a very charismatic individual, and his voice completely matches his face. I'll give him that. Um, but no, I do like him. I agree with him on a lot of his standpoints. I think I'm starting to agree with him more on his views of the family dynamic as I hear more of the things that he says. I'm not going to say that I full-heartedly believe his politics stuff, right? But I do agree with a lot of the stuff he says. But he does have a tendency to kind of beat a dead horse, and I guess we all kind of had that problem, right? But either way, he was talking about Andrew Tate, right? And if you don't know who Andrew Tate is, let me enlighten you a little bit. Now, when I say a little bit, I truly mean a little bit, because I don't know a whole lot about him. I think he was a kickboxer at some point in time. I could Wikipedia this, and my wife would probably tell me that I should, so that I'm not, giving out just random information. But I'm not very well prepared today. I'm not going to lie to anybody, right? So I'm pretty sure he was a kickboxer before. Now he's kind of like a entrepreneur / social media influencer guy. Okay. He really kind of, in my opinion, came to a lot of attention and publicity with the rise of TikTok. And it was the stuff that he was talking about was, for benefit of the doubt reasons, I thought it was good for young men, kind of. Okay. And let me elaborate on that a little bit. All right. So one of the things that I noticed with the rise of TikTok, especially, I got a lot of young men in particular that I try to stay somewhat engaged in their lives, that I've met through, my son over the years of his high school sports and youth sports and all that stuff. Right. And as a result of that, I've seen a lot of, young men, teenage men, that there was this trend kind of going on of just like sadness and depression. Right. And this is how I interpreted it. Right. And it kind of struck me as weird, right? The amount of self-doubt that a lot of these kids had. And it literally led me to not really being sure if it was genuine or if it was just trying to be involved with whatever current trend was going on, if that makes any kind of sense, right? And he spoke to, I think, a lot of those kids, right? And so in a way I was like, this is good, because if it is genuine, if it is authentic, then at least it's something that'll hopefully help some of these young men get out of this rut, right? And then obviously as time went on, a lot of is misogynistic, I think the right word. I think that's the right word. Bear with me, guys. I'm tired. But it turned into a lot of stuff like that, right? And it was like, no, really, dude, I don't think so. But one thing that I maintain is that I've said that, the people that he spoke to were not me. That's why I didn't care about what he was saying, right? Because he wasn't saying anything to anybody that you probably haven't at least had some old man in your life tell you, or an older person in general tell you, right? Like, the things that he was talking, in my opinion, were just like second nature stuff that was common knowledge, right? So it was kind of like one of those things where, like, he knew his target audience, right? And he exploited that very well. And as a result, I think it made him appear, I'm not going to say he's not tough, because like I said, I think he was a kickboxer, so he could probably hold his own, but it made him appear tougher than I think he really is, if that makes any sense. You know what I'm saying? And that leads to ego, I think, a lot of times. And I think the ego is what bit him in the ass, because on one of the earlier podcasts, I did a news update about him, and him and his brother were arrested on warrants and then extradited to the UK, I believe, or they were in the UK. I can't remember exactly. But for basically sexual assault, sexual harassment, those types of charges, right? And but anyway, so back to Ben Shapiro talking about him. Okay. Ben Shapiro was very upset primarily with the lifestyle stuff. He was talking about how, like, there's these videos of him out there these castles or whatever, and he doesn't even own the castle. It's owned by such and such. He did all the research. By all means, look it up for yourself. But paraphrasing here, the castle's owned by such and such, and he, if you want to stay there, it's $950 a night, blah, 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 blah. And this guy's out there making videos, making everybody thinks he's rich. It's like the same spiel. Like, all you have to do is go back in time and watch MTV Cribs, and then watch the scandal. I don't even want to say it was a scandal. It's not like it was a big deal. And I think most of us probably already knew it anyways. They just kind of verified it. Half those houses weren't even those people's real houses. They were rented out or leased out or whatever. They were just staying there or would rent it for the show, to be on the show, all those things, right? It's the same broken record that he's basically complaining about. But, he talked about some of his views on, marriage and partnership and things like that. And those are the things that I somewhat agree with him on, but I really thought he was doing better in life than to have to talk about Andrew Tate. See, I'm not, right? I just got off of my job. so if that's the clickbait that I need to get going, I think it makes sense for me, but I don't know that Ben Shapiro needs to be doing that. I don't know. Really interesting. But I just wanted to talk about that because, like I said, most of the other crap was just Israel this, Israel that, Biden, Trump. Apparently Russia says that they're going to engage with Iran if Israel retaliates or whatever. And I don't know. It's the same shit. And if you want that, go to Fox News, CNN, all those places. They're going to talk about that until they're blue in the face. Or red, I guess, if they're Republican. So either way, whistleblower testifies Boeing is producing defective planes, says he's received physical threats. Now, mind you, there was a whistleblower that just was found unalived previously, right, for Boeing. After 30 years of knowledge and insight, right? Well, here's another guy, and he apparently says that they're cutting all kinds of corners in the 787 and 777, I believe it was the model numbers. So more problems for Boeing, more problems for them. So I'm sure flights are real cheap right now. Actually, they're probably not, because they're probably aware they're going to go under, so they're probably charging everybody to death. But crazy. Got another one of those guys coming in. Hopefully he has a better, he says he's received physical threats, and I believe him because the other guy's not with us anymore. So that's a slippery slope right there, my friend. Godspeed to you, sir. Hopefully you make it through, because your other guy didn't. So I don't know. Crazy. All the issues that Boeing's having. I guess I don't understand the what do you call it? The commercial airliner game, right? Like, it must be really, really high stakes, man. Like, if we don't get this product out, we're gonna go bankrupt type thing. And maybe that's the way it is. I don't know. That's kind of crazy to me. I never would have thought that, though. Because I looked into flying for my little spontaneous weekend thing. No way. It's not that I can't afford it. I don't want to afford it. That's the biggest difference. I don't want to fly because I was looking into going to San Diego, and to fly the 5 of us and my family to San Diego, it was going to be like $3,000. Like, no. And I always thought, right, because people used to tell me, like, well, yeah, you need to plan it in advance. It's cheaper. So I looked into that. I said, okay, maybe that's the problem. I'm looking into, the week of being spontaneous. So I wonder what it's like in, like, 90 or 30 to 60 days. It was even more money. So yeah, I don't know. But and I don't know about you guys, but I don't trust those third party things. Actually, I've got a very good reason why now. But like you type something into Google and there's like 15 different third party agencies that'll help you find the cheapest hotel room or whatever, right? And they do the same thing for flights. And I don't know. Me personally, I don't trust them. I'd rather just go directly to the airline, right? And here's kind of a reason why. So while we were down there in Page, Arizona, I hadn't booked a hotel room. And I was really worried that was going to bite me in the ass. Trust me. Because I didn't call them or anything. I just was like, there's plenty of hotels there. We should definitely be able to find a room. And in my head, I was like, oh, it's not even travel season yet. You know what I mean? Like, people aren't out vacationing. It's April, that doesn't start till like summer break, and you load up all the kids and stuff. I'm an idiot, all right, on that, because People travel all the time. Okay. And it's Lake Powell. It's starting to get warm. It's nice down there, right? In my mind, it was the perfect time frame to go down there because it's not too hot, not too cold. And I guess I was naive and stupid enough to think I was the only person with that thought process. I don't know. I guess National Lampoons had me thinking everybody just did summer breaks. You know what I mean? And I don't know. But either way, so we get to this hotel, and the first one I go into, I asked the lady. Well, first of all, I'm standing in line. There's two ladies at the desk. One's on the phone. Then the other chick's helping out this guy, right? And this guy is a little frustrated. I can tell by his body language and this and that. And apparently what he had done is he had reserved his room online through one of those third-party apps. And it was supposed to be a room with 2 queen beds, I think it was, or something like that, right? And so he gets there, and they'd given that room away. And as a result, they couldn't accommodate what he had already paid for through this third-party app. And so then he asked the lady, he says, well, okay, that's cool. I can go somewhere else. Is there any way you can refund the money? And she says, no, because you went through another app. Now, like my wife said, maybe that's the truth. Maybe it's not. But the gal kept saying that, if she tried to do it, it was going to just give her an error code of not authorized. And so the guy's like, he's frustrated even more now. And so he's like, is there a manager here? And she says, we do have a manager, but he's not here today. So this pissed the guy off even more. But he was kind of being a douche, because I'm not going to say this. I don't know, but she was being pretty respectful about the whole situation and trying to do what she could within the confines of her job. And maybe she could have done more. I don't know that though. So right now I'm giving benefit of the doubt, but she was at least being respectful. Right. And so he completely turns, which I get to an extent, right? Because you're frustrated, but you're frustrated at the wrong person, in my opinion. And he's just kind of just being an asshole, right? Well, keep going here. And the other chick's now off the phone, and I come up to the desk and I ask the lady, I said, excuse me, miss, I'm just looking, do you guys have any rooms available? And she tells me, she says, the only rooms I have open right now are single bed kings, with a couch. And I've got 5 of us, right? So I'm like, okay, well, worst case scenario, like, we'll cram in here, but I'd rather not. Like, let's see what else we can find. Because again, there's plenty of hotels, right? And as I'm standing there, she's kind of looking into this stuff. The guy next to me, who's still pissed off, he starts telling the lady that's helping him, he's like, oh no, don't worry, I'm never gonna stay here ever. You've not been very helpful at all, right? It's just kind of being a dick. And so I made it a point when the lady told me she only had 1 room. I said, thank you, ma'am, you've been extremely helpful. And then I just walked out. I get it, you know what I mean? And I think that that's something that we can all be better on, because we've probably all had those situations. I don't know if she could have done more, but I don't know that she could have. And in my opinion, she's being extremely respectful and polite. And this guy was just kind of being a jackass. So I don't know. I hope we found a room. But lo and behold, I went to another place. It was kind of the same story. Then I started calling on some other local ones. And at this point, I was kind of getting worried, like, oh shit, maybe I dropped the ball and probably should have done this before. But lo and behold, Best Western had 2 conjoining rooms. It worked out perfect. And no big deal. But that's back to the third party thing, right? Like that, I think that was that guy's biggest problem, is that he bought it through that, but he couldn't get anything done without them. You know what I mean? And I don't know. So I just don't trust him, me personally. Wild little side note there. Sorry guys, kind of got off on a tangent, but that's apparently what the airline industry's battling is just, it's do or die, man. All these third parties are doing everything, taking all the money, I guess. Maybe not. I don't know. But again, another whistleblower. So I don't know. Crazy. I don't know if you want to get on any Boeing 777s or whatever they were. So lack of sleep could be a factor in a silent epidemic, experts warn. 1 in 4 Americans have the disease, which often has no symptoms. More than a third of adults fail to get the recommended 7 to 8 hours of sleep each night. Yeah, no shit. And the scarcity of shut-eye can have a surprising effect. Lack of sleep can lead to what some experts refer to as a silent epidemic, a condition called non-alcoholic fatty liver disease, which affects more than 1 in 4 American adults, according to the American Heart Association. Now, this one was, I'd never heard of this until recently, because someone in my life, I don't want to put her business out there and point it right, but somebody in my life who is important to me found out that this is what she's got going on, and it's crazy because she's not very old. She's not very old. Yeah, absolutely crazy. But non-fatty non-fatty or non-alcoholic fatty liver disease, NAFLD, excuse me. The primary cause is weight gain, along with metabolic risk factors such as type 2 diabetes, high blood pressure, high triglycerides, and obstructive sleep apnea, according to Ibrahim Hanouna, a gastroenterologist with MNGI Digestive Health in Minnesota. Heavy alcohol consumption can also lead to fatty liver, but NAFL refers to a fatty liver that occurs in the setting of metabolic syndrome and weight gain in the absence of heavy alcoholic consumption, hence the name non-alcoholic. So the link between sleep and NAFLD, lack of high-quality sleep, has been linked to weight gain, an increase in hunger, and adverse blood sugar control in multiple studies, according to Kristen Kirkpatrick, a registered dietitian at Cleveland Clinic and co-author of Regenerative Health. Insulin resistance is a major risk factor for abnormal amounts of fat in the liver, said Kirkpatrick. The risk is particularly high in postmenopausal women, she noted. One study found that chronic short sleep duration led to 20% increase in insulin levels among the group compared to 15% overall. So, that's crazy. That's crazy that apparently this is on the rise because, again, like I said, I hadn't heard. I think I'd heard about, fatty liver disease, but I didn't know that there was like a variation or type, right? And it's kind of crazy to think about that. Potentially that's because of our chaotic fucking lifestyles and us not getting enough sleep. I'm sure it's probably more the diets. But I mean, if that's a factor, that's a factor, right? And I don't know. It's crazy. People got so much going on that I think that sleep often gets sacrificed. I know that's the problem for myself. I'll tell you that much right now. Sleep gets sacrificed because there's things that I just want to do, right? But then there's things that I got to do too. You know what I mean? And trying to fit everything in. Yeah, man, it just gets old. I fully support the 3-day work week. All right, you ain't get your. Show me where to sign. Take my money. All right, I'll even work 15 hours a day for 3 days. That's fine. Leave me alone for 4. Damn, what a world that would be. But crazy. It's crazy to think about. You know what I mean? How something so simple could have such a devastating effect. And that's why I personally feel like it's probably more because our ancestors couldn't have been sleeping all. Maybe they were. I don't know. Maybe they were. Maybe they just woke up, they tended the field, banged their wife, and then just slept for 17 hours. I don't know. I clubbed them over the head and dragged them into the cave. Like I don't know. But man, I just assume, just because of the way, you see these portrayals, you see, you hear the stories, you read the history, right? And I just assume it was a tough life, right? And I don't imagine a steady sleep schedule was a part of that. And so I really feel like it's probably majority of the shit that we put into everything. But again, I mean, these guys are doctors, I'm not. So I'm just going to go with what they're saying. And sleep could be an indicator. It's crazy. But in positive news, though, bioengineered corneas stand to cure blindness for millions of people around the world. So that's pretty awesome. That would be an incredible advancement, something that would be great for, you know, clearly millions of people. Um, and I fully support that. I hope that it's successful. I don't know. That's in my mind. That's good news. That's from the Good News Network, by the way. They are not a sponsor. If they would like to be, by all means, reach out to me. But they're not a sponsor. But Good News Network, yeah, they got good news. I don't know what else to say about it. They got good news. Yeah, super crazy, super crazy. I do want to give a shout out to my favorite middle child, my big number 52 from Grantsville High School football team, T-Dog. He just turned 16 yesterday. That's right. I'm going to have an 18-year-old, a 16-year-old, and then a 12-year-old. I think she's 12. I think she's 12. Oh, shit. I'm pretty sure. Maybe not. Yeah, no, 12. Yep. Maybe. I don't know. Crazy. Excuse me. Oh. But anyways, big shout out to my favorite middle child. And not just because, not just because he's the middle child, but he is my only middle child. So, big shout out to my favorite middle child. Happy birthday. Yesterday. We celebrated that yesterday. We do this thing in our family where when it's your birthday, you just pick where we're going to go to dinner. And he chose Chinese food. It was really good. Delicious. We came back. My wife and my daughter, probably mostly my wife, made him some brownies because he said that's what he wanted. So we didn't do a cake or anything. We did brownies and candles. And my mom went and got some ice cream. And then we all went on about our night and went to sleep. I hope he had a good birthday, though. I got him a pair of jogger pants because he likes those. I think I got him too long, though. I might have fucked that one up. But, and then I think I got him the coolest shirt on the planet. I don't know if he wore it. But I hope he did. I told him he could take my aviator. It's like a Hawaiian shirt almost. Really cool. I bought it knowing that he'll probably never wear it. But I bought it also knowing that if he did ever wear it, I know him well enough that he's going to wear that with the most attitude of anybody on the planet. So I told him if he does wear it, he can feel free to take my aviator glasses. But I don't know if loves The Walking Dead is a stretch or is the accurate way, but I would assume that he loves The Walking Dead because he's always watching it and then rewatching it from like start to end. So I got him the complete series. So in the event that when he no longer has mommy and daddy money to pay for all the streaming devices and he can't watch it anymore, he'll have the DV dizzles to be able to watch it on his own time. So I don't know. That was pretty expensive though. Not that it matters. I was just kind of shocked at how expensive the complete series was. But it's like 11 seasons or something. So I think it said it was like 54 discs or something like that. It's crazy. Absolutely crazy. But he'll have them. And then if nothing else, maybe he can sell them as relics in like 30 years. I don't know. But I hope he had a good birthday. I feel like he did. I took him to the Grand Canyon, for Christ's sake. I'm just kidding. That was my idea, but he was involved, so therefore it counts. That's right. Birthday trip. No, and I don't know. I also want to give a shout out to a friend of mine from the Army. He'll know who he is if he's listening. His son has been battling cancer. I think he's like 13 or 15, 13 or 15, I think, if I recall correctly. I could be wrong, but I feel like that's how old he was. Anyways, I'm not entirely sure how he's doing, but I saw, or how he's doing, but I saw a post, I think when I got back this weekend, and I don't know, it just made me think about him, and man, I hope he's doing better. I hope it's looking on the positive, and I hope that my buddy's doing all right. I can't imagine what it feels like to be in his position. Because they're already separated. His time is already split with the mother, and I don't know. I can't imagine what it feels like to be in his situation. And I just want him to know, if he's listening, that I'm thinking about you, man. I'm rooting for your boy. I hope everything's all right. So, because that's what I like to do here too. I like to do final thoughts, and final thoughts is where I kind of tune it down a little bit and try to talk about things that I think are a little deeper, more heartfelt. And man, I don't know. It's just this weird vibe that I've been in. Fun fact, the average lifespan of Americans is like 58 years or something, or 78 years. I mean, excuse me. Or no, 72 years. Gosh dang it. I looked it up earlier. Now I'm going to have to do it again. Average discussion. Just kidding. 76. Sorry. 76 years is the average life expectancy here in the United States. Okay. So if you split that in half, that's 38 years. Our midlife is supposed to be about 38 years old. And it's crazy they want us to work till we're 65, but our midlife for average is 38 years. 38 years old, and I'm about there right now. I'm not quite there, but I'm about a year and a half off. Right? So I'll be 37 this year. And I don't want to say like I'm thinking like this is all over or anything like that, but I have noticed like physical changes, mental changes, and opinions. Like they're always changing. Like the older you get and all those things, right? And I don't know. I don't feel like I wasted time with things coming up with my kids and my family and stuff, right? But I do feel like I wish I would have done some more things. That I would have prioritized a few things differently. And I think you kind of come to those conclusions probably around the same time. Or maybe it's dependent on how old your kids are, right? Like my oldest, he's about to be 18. He'll be 18 in like 2 weeks. Both my boys' birthdays are in April, right? And then my 16-year-old now and my daughter, who's I think gonna be 12 this year. But maybe it comes more from that than necessarily maybe my particular age, right? Is kind of seeing it all come to an end, and it's not necessarily an end. It's just different, right? It changes. It changes shape, but it's an end to what you know, I guess you could say, right? It's an end to what you've grown accustomed to, and I don't know, man. I want to do so many things because I'm in a better position now too. That's what kind of sucks, right? Like I think that's the curse of having kids young. There's benefits. But I think that's kind of the curse too, right? Is that by the time you get to a position financially, your kids are already older. Whereas if I had had kids late, they would just be maybe hitting their teens or something like that, right? But right now it's the opposite. I don't know, because it was cool. It was cool being the young dad, right? Because I could do all the things. Like even right now, I could still go out and play basketball with them and compete. You know what I mean? They should beat me, but they don't always beat me. You know what I mean? And I don't know, but those parts of it is cool. But the downside of it is that I'm in a position now where it's much easier for me to do some of the random vacation stuff, right? And I don't know, it's not there, and I would feel terrible taking 2 out of the 3. You know what I mean? So. I don't know. I just started kind of reevaluating that kind of stuff, and so I can't imagine what my friend's going through. That's a tough one, man. And I think what pisses me off even more is the way that I initially viewed it. I think that's I wasn't sure if it was legit. I'm not gonna lie. Like when I first saw the thing that he posted about it, right? I didn't feel confident that it was a legitimate thing. Like it seemed really really random, which obviously like it should, right? But like you don't know that you're sick until you're sick, and you don't have any. So I'm not saying that my thought process was right by any means or that it was justified. All I'm saying is I'm just expressing the way that it felt, right? And I think that that's what kind of makes me the most upset about the whole situation is the way that I viewed it, right? Like, what does that say about me, right? And I don't want to be that type of person, man. That's fucked up. You know, we don't have a lot of history together, but we've got a pretty significant history, you know, in the short period of time that we spent together. Yeah, no, I don't know. And so that makes me upset is that I inherently, and maybe it's just because, you know, we live in this world where the people take advantage of you all the time, right? Like people are always looking to make a buck type thing. So maybe it's a byproduct of that. You know, I don't know, but either way, if it is a byproduct of that, I let it affect my perception of it, and that's where I'm wrong, and I'm fucked up, right? But I can't, man. I can't imagine what he's dealing with mentally. You know, he's a pretty positive dude, at least what I remember of him. He's a pretty positive guy. So I imagine he's being super positive and supportive for his son, as he should be, right? But I'm sure, you know, when the TV cuts off and the lights are down, you know, I'm sure that's probably where that might fade, and that's where I hope he's doing all right. I need to just reach out to him. But one thing about me, I'm not good at that kind of stuff. So I get it from my mama. I promise you that. Yeah, I hope he's all right though. So if you got somebody that you know you feel like you need to give a shout out to, I recommend you do that. I'm gonna hit him up. I'll hit him up to see how he's doing. Check in on him. Try to be better. You know what I mean? It's so easy to get wrapped up in our own selves. It's so easy to get wrapped up in the things that we're doing that we don't take the 2 seconds out of our day, and we say dumb shit like, "Oh, I'm just so busy." I am busy. But I also got a few minutes to check in on people, and I don't. So it's easy. And we always come up with excuses. We always come up with reasons. And then we remember about it. We kind of feel bad about it, but then we get tied up with everything else that we're doing. And I don't feel like it's ever really intentional. It's just the way that it is, right? And I think without actually focusing on it, actually paying attention to it, I think it's easy to kind of let it go by. So I don't know. That's where we're at. So this one's going to be uploaded a little bit past 4. Sorry, guys. I got off later than expected. Had to do some kind of research to talk about a few things. But if you stay with me this long, I try to keep them 30 to 45 minutes. I'm at 47 right now, so I've even gone over on that. But I haven't put out a show in a while, so I feel like it's okay. Right? I should get a pass for this one. But that'll kind of wrap it up. Again, if you got the chance, go check out the Grand Canyon. It's definitely at least worth experiencing. You know, just my opinion, the top of it, it's cool for about 10 minutes, and then it's time to go. But Horseshoe Bend was absolutely awesome. Great little getaway. So I encourage you to be spontaneous. I think it's good for the soul in a lot of ways, but I could also see how it's a little negative sometimes. But I think the positives outweigh the negative. So I encourage you to be spontaneous. Switch things up in your life. Routines are good. They're comfortable, but they can get boring. And then you get complacent. You know, and you think everything's always going to be the way that it is, and it's not. So definitely take advantage of those things if you can. That's my advice. Be spontaneous. Have some fun within reason. You know what I mean? Like don't bankrupt yourself being spontaneous. All right, but you know, I don't know if I'm doing. Oh, my wife would probably tell you. You know, like when you spontaneously just bought a truck. Okay. This was a bad purchase. I'm not gonna lie. I love this truck. So I guess in that regard, it wasn't a bad purchase, but I didn't need it. And yeah, I don't know. Not going to get into that whole can of worms, but I do encourage it. Be spontaneous. Spice things up a little bit. You know, I think that goes for more than just trips. You know, I think, you know, it can go for a plethora of things. So that's my advice. Yeah. So where can you find me? You can find me on Facebook, facebook.com/average discussion. Instagram, average discussion. average discussion. Threads, average discussion. X, formerly known as Twitter, at AVG discussion. If you like the show, don't like the show, bitches, gripes, complaints, death threats, all those things, you can email me directly at averagediscussion@gmail.com. That's all one word, averagediscussion@gmail.com. Go straight to my phone. I would hate for those things to be tied up in the bureaucracy that is social media that I try to avoid sometimes. Yeah. If you did like the show, please follow, share, do all the things. YouTube.com. Channel's Average Discussion. Please head over there, support that. Be awesome. You guys are the best. Thank you for everything. Thank you for sticking with me and my inconsistencies. I just know I'm tired. I just want to relax and sit around. Excuse me. And I don't know, do what I want to do and just kind of vegetate for a little bit. I'm not gonna lie. I'm pretty wore out. I haven't had to do this kind of work for a while, and I'm not exactly used to it right now. Again, I'll get there, but right now I'm still just adjusting. And yeah, so my bad for putting out a plan and then just disappearing again. That happens. So anyways, hey, that's the show, guys. As always, please take care of yourselves. Please take care of each other. And until next time, I'm out.